So we're on this whole topic here of Easter, resurrection, and all that Jesus died for us and rose again in order that we might live, and really, talking about the implications of that, this resurrection thing. And if you would, at some point, you grew up in a Christian home and all that sort of thing, but at some point, that faith became yours, and at some point that the reality of what Jesus really did for you came alive in you. And would you speak into that, how it changed, your identity, how it changed how you viewed yourself, and how it, changed the trajectory of how, where you wanted to go with your life and all that. So.
Yeah, so like you said, I've grown up in the church my entire life. Most of my childhood has been grown up in grace. I was raised in a Christian home. I had amazing parents, and I accepted Christ at a young age, but I would say it took until I was about 18 or so until I really got it. I struggled, especially my early years in high school, I struggled a lot with a lot of worry and anxiety and fear and low self-esteem and insecurity. And I don't really remember any specific day or event that I would say, my life changed. But over the past 5 years or so, I'd say God's been moving in my heart, and I have made my faith has become my own. The Jesus who died on the cross to forgive us of our sins and save the world, from an eternity apart from him, has become my Jesus who died for my sins so that I can spend an eternity and so I can know God personally, and, God who sent his son and sacrificed that has become my heavenly Father. He's my dad. So I no longer look to other people for my worth and my value. I am who God says I am. And,
That's powerful, isn't it?
It is. Jesus didn't die on the cross and rise again 3 days later so I could continue living that life of fear and worry and doubt. He did it, so that I could have new life. And I'm a different person now that I think I've finally gotten that and made that my own in my life.
And I did give my life to Christ, pretty early on, but I feel like, especially as a teenager, I kind of slipped away from it, not because I didn't know the truth, but because I wasn't living it out. I didn't know how to actually live out what it meant for Jesus to die and rise again. What does that actually mean in my everyday life? Because I think so often, we think about the fact Jesus died for my sins so that I can go to heaven.
Right.
But what does that actually mean here and now? What does it mean when I wake up every morning? What does that mean? And so I feel like I was not living that truth out in my everyday life. So when I was 20 years old, I feel like that's when I really committed my everyday life to God. And it changed everything, my whole perspective on life, because it's actually walking in the power of the cross right now, every single day, actually walking out his victory.
And knowing my Father is for me, and he's with me, and in any circumstance, that really changes my outlook on life. When temptations and trials come, he's for me, he's with me. You know what I mean? When things happen that I'm confused about, that I get frustrated about, if things are taking too slow of a time in my heart, he's with me, he's for me, and I think that's so important to remember. I'm constantly reminding myself that.
How does it, impact in terms of your relationships, of how you relate to your wife, how you relate to, worship, how you relate to people in the church?
What you said a couple sermons ago, we need to go first. I need to go first. And what that means is, before I receive anything for my actions, I need to die to myself, put her needs first. And that's the same way with worship. I'm not there for glorification. I'm not there for for words of affirmation. I'm there because my God is there, and it's an opportunity to worship Him.
And I would say, I also look at the resurrection, that was God's greatest sacrifice. Jesus sacrificed His life so that we might have life. And so, we are required to sacrifice being a Christ follower. We are to die to ourselves daily, and that includes serving and loving my husband just as Jesus would. Even the times when I maybe don't necessarily feel like it. But I also think Jesus didn't go to the cross for loss. He went to the cross for gain for us so that we might have new life. So, when I think of sacrificing for my husband, it's not to lose anything. It's to gain. I gain his love. I gain his affection. I gain, greater intimacy with him. So, I'm not giving up things when I'm serving and loving my husband.
Don't you think sometimes people think that, pursuing Christ, it takes a priority, doesn't it? It takes some effort.
Yes. At the beginning especially, it does include discipline. If you don't feel close to God, it's probably because you're not spending time with Him, if you faithfully, commit to Jesus and faithfully commit to pursuing Him every day, you will feel close to Him. But I think, that also comes with time. But for me, it's just every day leaning into the fact that there is nothing that He has not done for me. If I look at the death and resurrection, sometimes people are like, God, why are you not doing this for me? But in reality, He's already given you everything, and we need to tap into what He has already done. And so that's how I try and live each day, with the perspective of He has already given me everything, and I need to lean into the power of the cross and the resurrection. So like I said, there's nothing He hasn't done for me, and so I know that I can live victoriously because of that.